When working on bitochen, most people are used to thinking that how does a person work on bitochen? So we learn the topic, we hear chizik, people get themselves into a good mood in order to get themselves into believing it'll be good. And the question is, when is a person in the stage that he could be convinced that he got somewhere? I think I have bitochen. So of course, there's no end to the levels of bitochen that a person should feel, okay, check, I have bitochen. There's no such a thing. Constantly a person has to steig and continue growing in the how much bitochen they have, how strong their bitochen is, what happens when they're in a tough spot. But there's a certain aspect of it that we have to elaborate upon because people have a mistake. Bitochen, literally, if we translate, is trusting. If we think about the word trust between people, between business partners, between friends, between family members, we'll see that trusting is a feeling that someone only achieves after a long period of time, that a person is invested in a certain relationship. Slowly, a person could trust the other party. It doesn't happen that people meet and within an hour they see that they click and then they just trust each other. And if they do, then they're in big trouble. Or they don't know what trust is, or they don't know who the other person is. It doesn't work like that. It contradicts the essence of what trust is. Because trust is such a deep feeling of the nefesh, a person gives themselves away when they trust somebody else. Practically, it's like Mesiras Nefesh in a certain sense. People trust somebody else with a secret. They feel they could trust someone. Now, if the other party that heard that secret would betray, would go out there and advertise it to others, then it's a disaster. If people get so hurt, they would remember it for tens of years. Why is that? Okay, next. No, it's not next. Because when I trusted somebody, I gave myself away. I felt a part of my nefesh, I could just rely on someone. And how did that happen? How did that happen? That person took that trust and used it against me. Now, why is it so important to discuss? Because a person has to learn to build a relationship with Hashem, a slow relationship, invest in it deeper and deeper, so a person could really reach this feeling of trusting because I trust. Most of us skip that part. That means we don't necessarily work on the relationship as a relationship. We do what we need to do. We try to be a good yid, and I want to do what's right. So people try to follow the rule, Shulchan Aruch, we daven, we try to keep the mitzvahs as much as possible. And then we have bitochen, like trusting in Hashem, like this separate thing that we try to work on it. We try to use it, of course, to our benefit, because we hear that if we're going to trust in Hashem, then things are going to go better. So we like try to use it. But if we think into it, trusting is a result. If a person has a real relationship, so they don't have to add, okay, after 2 years of being friends, I think we're going to open a new page. Let's work on trusting each other. That's not how it works. If you actually have a real relationship, then you're going to be trusting each other. And if it's not yet, if it's not ripe enough, you didn't invest. Okay, so it should help. You continue on in the relationship another half a year, another year, and you learn each other's personalities by people. The pros and everything. You learn the milas, the chesronos of the other person, and slowly you learn how to trust. Now, how does this come in to the topic that we discussed last couple of weeks of tshuva and changing habits? It connects. Because when a person does something wrong, when it's in a relationship with others, someone has to know how to continue the relationship even though I made a mistake. It's a big yesod in being able to be a friend with someone, to have a healthy relationship with someone, is to know how to continue on life and the friendship. And it's not always by friends. It's of course in marriage, and it's in the workplace. What do you do after you did a mistake? So a person that has a healthy, if it's social skills or bichlal, they're built well. So they don't get lost, and they don't try to hide and then try to make believe nothing happened. That's not healthy. They're strong enough to be able to confront the other party and say, I shouldn't have said that. Okay, it's hard for a second. Sometimes it's tough to be able to confront, but they do it because they feel strong enough. I shouldn't have said it. I shouldn't have done that. I really don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to me. I must have been overwhelmed, and because of that, maybe I lost my temper or whatever. But it's not who I am. It's not what I really feel. I said things that it's not true. I don't really feel like that about you. And they know when to say it, how to say it, and then we continue on. And they also know how, in the next period of time, to be extra careful to show that I'm back and I shouldn't have done that. Being able to confront and ask people for mechila, to forgiveness. That is part of being able to live healthy and keep relationships long term. Even though because we make mistakes. So you're going to make mistakes. Now if we make mistakes, we want to know how to fix mistakes. If we know that when it comes to relations of people, now when you're talking about Hashem, and we know that trust is built on years of a healthy relationship with Hashem, then we figure out that knowing how to do tshuva, learning the skills of being able to be honest about something is majorly important. It's major important because you cannot have a healthy relationship with Hashem if every time you do something wrong, or you're telling yourself, you're allowed to do that, nothing is wrong, and he's a bigger shegitz than me. And you lose yourself because you don't know where to put yourself at, or you just make believe nothing ever happens, and so on. And you just, let's go to sleep the next morning, okay, make believe nothing happened. No, because then you're not building a relationship with Hashem. And then what's happening is, for example, we'll go to a moshel. It's like someone that hurt his friend badly, and he knows it, but he doesn't have the strength to confront him. So what does he do? He just makes sure to avoid him, doesn't meet him for a few weeks or months. But then what happens is that he needs a toiva from him. He needs a favor. What do I do now? It's a favor that only he could do. So he calls up his friend, and he still doesn't know how to be open and honest. And he calls up his friend and says, "Hi, how you doing? We didn't speak for the longest time. What's going on?" And on the other side, the friend says, like with a cold voice, like, "Fine, Baruch Hashem, and by you, how's your family doing?" "Baruch Hashem, very fine." "So why do you call?" "Come, because we're friends. I'm talking just, I feel I have to touch base. I think about you all day. Oh, what's with your kids and this and that?" "Baruch Hashem, very fine." "Oh, a matter of fact, could you do me that favor? What does that friend feel? Oh, see, you're just trying to use me. You're trying to get what you need. You don't mean no relationship. You don't have no shaykhs. This is what people do sometimes. Why? Because they don't have the strength to fix. Because in order for a person to fix, a person has to be humble. And has to be able to look someone in the face and say, listen, I made a very big mistake. I shouldn't have done that. I know it might be even too early that you should forgive me, and I'll understand you. I'll understand you because I realized the mess that I made. The truth, I couldn't really get myself even to talk to you, but I felt if I'm not going to talk to you, it's going to be worse. So I'm just picking up the phone, and I just want to tell you, I feel terrible. I feel terrible. I understand you if you're upset at me, but I really want to keep our friendship. I don't think this is a reason that we should lose our long built relationship that we have. It takes koyach, but it's so healthy, and people feel so much better. But we need to know how to do that, because if you don't know how to do that, then you don't know how to do that with Hashem. And if you don't know how to do that, you're going to be fooling yourself when you're going to say, I'm working on my trust. Because trust it builds. It builds. I know, I'm talking to Hashem every day. I keep in touch. I tell him my problems. I try to serve him. I thank him for everything that he does for me. I thank him. I know that he does what's best for me. And I keep an open line constantly. But when I daven, I speak about my pain. I'm not a malach. I have a lot of things that I'm deep pain, but I'm open about it. Tefillah is all about a person being able to verbalize what he feels, telling Hashem, I wish I would be in the madrega, that I would say, it can't be better, and I'm so excited with my life. Hashem, I'm honest, this hurts, and the other thing, I have no idea how this is going to happen, and the other thing, I'll be honest, I don't know why I deserve it. I know I'm not supposed to be talking like that, and I don't want to talk like that, but I'm explaining my feeling. When a person's open, but when they daven, they learn how to talk. They say to them, they have a seder that they talk to Hashem in such manner, in such a way of talking. What happens is that Hashem talks to them. It's an open relationship. And then, what happens is trust gets built. It's very, very important. If we make, now especially when someone does something wrong, they talk about it. Then they won't say, when they open with Hashem, I don't know why I deserve it. This is what's going to happen. In relationships, most times, people feel that, why did you do that to me? Do I deserve that? But when a person comes to he starts understanding, I'm in a very big mess. Then they're embarrassed and they say, I know whatever happened, I deserve it. So a person goes by a day and they did something they're not supposed to. They skip it, they just go to the next page. They spoke Lashon Hara, they look where they weren't supposed to, they did something terrible. They just want to imagine that it never happened. And they don't want to talk about it to Hashem, and they don't want to do tshuva. So what happens is that it's not, you're not building yourself. You're not building that relationship with Hashem. So you're going to feel that Hashem is wrong. It's deep. Because you forgot. Why did you forget? You know why you forgot? Because it was too painful. You didn't know what to do with it, and so I'm a big Rosh, so I forgot. If Cheshbon HaNefesh, into Chazal say, Tzaddikim said that the time for Cheshbon HaNefesh mainly is every night before Krishma Shalamita, the first part, and then Erev Shabbos, Erev Chodesh. There's times, not constantly a person shouldn't be living Tzibrach, and there's times when a person is set up. But a person remembers and he feels terrible about it, and he speaks, Hashem takes you tshuva. The good part about it is that Hashem wants to be moichel, and we say every day a bracha, Ata, we say Slach Lanu Avinu, and we say Kikeil Toivas Halachota, and the Balatanya says, then we say Baruch Ata Hashem, we thank Hashem, Chanan Hamar B'Lislayach, without not thanking Hashem, that Hashem forgave our grandfathers for something they did, we're thanking Hashem for this second, when I said Slach Lanu, on that, immediately Hashem forgave me, and we know that if I'm going to say that, Hashem wants to help me, and Hashem hears. Hashem is not shocked for the Averis. Hashem saw everything already, but be open about it. If you're open about it, you're going to remember, and you're going to feel that Hashem is not doing something bad to you. So then you're going to trust Him. You're going to trust Him. You're going to feel, wow, it's a kaporas avoidance. What I'm going through now is real kaporas avoidance. Wow, it hurts. It hurts. But if it hurts, it means that I really have a real kaporas avoidance. I'm elaborating about this specific point because it's important to understand it. A person goes through a hardship and it's very, very painful. It's very painful. Don't just skip it by saying, or I'm going to be in denial and I don't know, I'm just going to sing a song and imagine it's not here at all, or I'm going to be depressed and not going to be able to get out of bed. There's a third option. Third option is feel the pain and say it hurts. And it really, really hurts. If it's emotionally or physically or both, it really, really hurts me. But if it hurts, it means it's working. The doctor asks the patient, do you feel something? The patient says, no, I'm just fine. So he goes to look if the machine is connected. It means something is off. Sometimes Hashem brings every person, has Yisurim, and it's painful. If it hurts, it means something is happening. If I'm going to say right now, Hashem, see my pain, and please let it clean some damage that happened to my neshama, then you have no idea what's happening right now. Even if it hurts and even it's so painful, but if a person is aware about what's happening, they could keep that relationship. Then it's painful, but then they could thank Hashem for it. And if they could thank, they're going to trust. If they remember, it's living in the real world instead of trying to forget about everything. Now,
yes. Questions.
Yes.
So when I brought down, I think from the Toldos that he said, a person should never say, even when he did the Avera, is Magia li this Onish, or I'm not going to get the thing that I was hoping I would get because of this Avera. He said you should never think, because everything you get is not because you're a tzaddik. It's all matnas chinam.
Right.
So on one hand, that's a very different type of relationship than with a human being. And Bichlal, one of the previous Shurim, you spoke about the idea that some of the Yisurim are built in, right?
Yes.
That's our chelik in Torah.
Right. So it's very important to address both questions. First question is that it says in the Toldos the Toldos says that a person should never say, I don't deserve this and this because of this specific Aveda that I did. It means he shouldn't be running the relationship with Hashem as give and take, because it's not true. No matter the zgulas of it, it's also not true, because Hashem gives even if you're not worth of getting. That's the whole Chanun. That's what the Parshas is Chanun. Hashem has a midah of Chanun. And when a person davens, he also should never daven because I did this mitzvah, that's why Hashem, could I please have that? I did this. Because never do that. Ask Hashem, I don't deserve, it has nothing to do with deserving. It's not a system, it's not a price. Hashem, you give. So I ask Hashem to get abundance, to have from the toiv that Hashem gives to the world. The answer is, we gave a moshel of relationship between people, and with Hashem it works differently. Because we never know the cheshbon of everything. Okay. Sometimes we do know. It could be that a person told me, an older person told me he fell this Tisha B'Av, and he hurt his hand. Baruch Hashem, he's fine. But he says, you should have saw the way the guy said it, but it was simple, he says. I spoke Lashon Hara on Tisha B'Av, I'm such an idiot. He says, just before, and he said it's simple. He said it so matter-of-factly. He said there was a darshan that spoke on Tisha B'Av, and somebody asked me, how was the drasha? And I explained it, what I felt about the drasha, and I shouldn't have said that, and just standing there, I hurt my hand. It was simple. So, a person gets reminders from Hashem, he gets reminders, it's an important nekuda. Now, it's, just forget about it. Let's go back to the Nakuda. A person, to answer the question, a person knows it has a cheshbon and it's good for me. Not a person says this is for that Aveda, this is for this Aveda, and that person's having a good life is because there's a me that I'm having so much more Yisurim. It must be because I did so many more Avedas. No, don't go there now. Don't go there. A person just feels the whole time that I don't want to get to the stage that I feel constantly, it doesn't make sense, I don't know why this is happening to me. Why is this happening to me all the time? That, forget about emunah, bitochen, it's not healthy. It's not good in any relationship. You have to, bitochen, if we're trusting in Hashem, we have to build the first level of relationship, and then we can build up on top of that. So when a person is going through a situation, it's always important for a person to know, listen, it's good for me what I'm going through. It hurts. It's very, very painful. I'm not going to say that now. I'm being honest. But I can imagine a simple thing that is very, very good for me, because it's automatically helping my neshama be closer to Hashem, because that's what Yisurim do. So it could be in a level of Averis. It could be in a level of Tzaddikim, which the Yisurim helped them reach a higher Madrege. It could be a previous Gilgul, but it's definitely helping me. So when I mentioned before that a person that knows that he did this thing that's wrong and that thing that's wrong, it just helps the person in the overall not to go around feeling, why? Every time I do this, I can't believe it. I just meant to say, even in a regular relationship, if you're going to be saying that and thinking that, it's not going to work. So forget about trust, which is built on the relationship. So that's when a person is honest and a person is aware of what's happening. It helps that a person should live like that, and don't use it for a coping mechanism to just delete everything. It's not good. It may be good from time to time while you're right now doing something, so nothing is in your mind and you're focusing on what you're doing. True. We sometimes need to use that coping mechanism. I'm not saying a person should carry around the baggage all day. But you need to have a certain cheshbon and nefesh of what's going on, because you also need that. You have to be juggling both. While you do something, focus on what you're doing. That's why the Balatanya and more tzaddikim, I said before, by night is a time of cheshbon and nefesh. They said, while you're davening and learning, please don't think about all your baggage and avedas. Nothing of it. He said the Yetzer Hara is always going to bring it to you, because he doesn't want you to focus on what you're doing. So that's when he's going to bring you all these machshavas. No, that's when you should use the koyach that Hashem gave someone. When you focus on something, nothing else is kayam, nothing is here right now. But then, live with cheshbon. When you're not right now, if it's cheshbon nefesh by night or whenever it is, live with cheshbon. So that's what we meant. And this also includes the answer to the second question you asked, that a person, sometimes not all Yisurim is built on because he's such a bad person. We see that there's cheshbonis and people have different shlichus in life and different parts in Torah that they have to, we see clear that neshamas are born unhealthy physically. They didn't do anything yet. It's cheshbonis. It doesn't contradict at all. We just have to mention, it's important to mention it. So again, the idea of the shir, of the beginning of the shir is, look at trust as it gets built on a relationship. Know that relationship with Hashem works not exactly, but it has a lot of common ground with relationship with people. And if that's the case, learn the skills, the social skills of being able to fix a problem and not just make believe nothing happened. And if you know how to do that with yourself and with Hashem, then you're going to have a real trust. You're going to know that Hashem you're open with Hashem, and you're working on yourself, and you're honest with Him, and then a person could really feel that they could trust.
One more question. Sorry.
Yeah. Don't be sorry.
It's aside. You'd mentioned saying Tillim or davening, but Lamaisa is such a discussion, such speaking really seems to be like some people talk about doing during Hisburdis, where you say in your own lashon, in your own words. I think most people
Okay.
Yeah.
His boydus, even though Breslov has it as a main factor of their derech and Hasidus, there's no doubt that this is a mahalach and avodas Hashem that nobody argues about. And whoever knows me, I'm not Breslov. So I just want you to understand. His boydus is an amazing tool. Now, every derech uses certain tools in avodas Hashem and says, work on this, and this will take you very far. So, it's a discussion. Every Hasidus what they took. It's very interesting, very colorful to see that if you invest in something very strong, then it could help you in so many different aspects in avodas Hashem. So Breslov took it as you got to do this every day, and for a period of time, not for 5 minutes, longer. But every person, there's no doubt about it. This is the name for it. His boy with this. It means no one's around, nobody's listening. Talk with your own language. That's what we have in Aloha. By the bracha of Shemei Tefillah, person could talk and should before you l'rotzenim lefi. The Mishnah Berurah says has milas to do it in the end after Bashalom, so you could say Baruch Hu v'Shmei and Amen, and you're not limited. But whatever it is, part of Shemoneh Esrei is doing that. I said saying to them, and of course, if you had time and you could set yourself up to have time, you don't know what it's going to do for you. There's no doubt about it that this is a moedigam halach avodas Hashem. Look at how many tzaddikim. The fact that Breslov, the tzaddikim of Breslov took it and said this is like the thing, just shows you how important it is for every Yid. You're working on davening and learning, but just what the other tzaddikim held that this is something wrong. No, all the tzaddikim, even the people that held that people shouldn't use that derech of Breslov, and there was the tzaddikim in Russia in those days that went against that derech, not against the Hizboidus part. That wasn't at all not the issue. It's important to know it. It's very important to know it. You live a more healthy life, and you remember about Hashem. It helps you for Amunah, for Bitochim, for Tefillah, for everything. So it's important to say that. Another little point to bring out this same idea just from another angle. When a person doesn't live with honesty, then they don't trust anybody. The person just lies straight through the teeth constantly. It became a habit. It's very messed up. They with people, because what happens is that they lose confidence in everything because they feel a deep feeling. If I do that, then it must be that other people are doing that as well. So they wouldn't give their trust to anybody. And it's so painful, but it's so true. You could hear sometimes kids that are struggling, teenagers that are struggling. Sometimes you could hear that, and it's important to realize it and to pick up on it. Sometimes they lie, sometimes because they're so pained and they feel they can't bring nachas, and they feel they can't say the truth because someone calls them and says, "Where are you now?" and they can't say where they are, and they just say, "No, I'm on the way. There's a bit of traffic, well, I'll be there," and they know that they're not. So what happens is, all of a sudden, when they're in pain, and you're going to tell them, "Daven," or whatever, nah, I don't know. I don't trust anybody anymore. You know how many times that painful sentence you hear that? I don't know. I don't trust anybody anymore. You know why? Because they ruined it. It's not a problem. We can fix it. But while a person is living in that state, they don't trust anybody. Because they can't. Because it goes both ways.
And sometimes they can't be open because they tried and backfired on them.
Yes. That is another painful subject, that they did trust somebody. We discussed it in a share once. They did trust somebody, and somebody went against them, and they lost trust, and they're so pained because of it. Now they feel they can't trust anybody, and that's also very, very true. But another nakuda, when a person doesn't live with truth, then they can't trust others. So being that trust has a lot of levels, when we get ourselves out of a mess by making believe it didn't happen and just shoving things under. What happens is that we don't even know, but we're ruining our sensitive koyach of trusting. MS. We're ruining it for ourselves. It's chaval. That's why it's so important. The Chavos Avova says, I'm going back to this broad idea that you should do tshuva and try to be ehrlich yid in order to have bitochen. And when we started the topic, what was it, about 5 shurim ago, and we started this topic, we were like, like, if you need to be the best Jew and not do any averes in order to have bitochen, then we can't start. The idea is, the Chavos Avos is telling you, I'm not talking about being perfect. That's not the point. The point is, be on the direction of tshuva, even if you just got onto the highway. Start working. That means a person knows, I have 100,000 things to fix. Forget about it. No, not forget about it. Write it down, and we'll get there. Well, Hashem will give you arichas yomim, and you'll get there in 30 years from now. Write it down on the list. Someone tells you, but I want you to know, you have one meter that's not the way it's supposed to. You have this the way it's not supposed to. And the guy thinks, well, I'm going to start fixing everything. Tiny baby steps. But do baby steps and write on the list what's going to be your next baby step. You don't have to, but write it. I'm going to get to it, Met Hashem. Take a baby step and work on it. This I'm changing. This I feel confident that I can change. Don't do big things for 3 days or for a week. You're not getting anywhere. You're not building yourself. But besides that, tshuva is going to work better that way. What's going to be is, you're not going to have to cope by making believe it's not around, by making believe it's not true, by that. You're not going to have to cope like that. So what's going to happen is, the Chavos Avos is saying, you're going to develop trust like that. That's the point. I'm not like trying to say, hey, I'm going to tell you in a little words afterwards, you cannot be bitochen unless you're a tzaddik. Now I spill the beans. This is the secret. He's just telling you, if you're going to get onto that path, you don't know what you're doing yourself. You're helping yourself develop that good feeling which has all goodness connected to it. That's why it's so important to be on the path of tshuva, even just by taking one thing for yourself. I'm on the path of doing better. Now, just one more thing. That the Mishnah says in Masechtas Yuma about Yom Kippur, that Yom Kippur is mechaper averis, and you get mechila slicha kapora on averis. But if you have issues with your friend or whatever, you have to ask for forgiveness. Yom Kippur cannot take care of that. Usually, we're used to learning that Mishnah, that Hashem says, listen, I can only fix what has to do with me. If you owe somebody else money, listen, I'm not mixing in. Take care of it. Yom Kippur cannot fix that. But I saw also Rabbi Avram Gurwitz, the Rosh Hashiva of Gateshead, and others explaining it with beautiful eyes. And if we learn the topic well, we'll see ourselves that that's how it works. Even the part of Bein Odom Lamokim, the part of your relationship with Hashem, is also stuck and waiting, it's pending on your fixing up your relationship with people. Means that the idea is, if you don't work on being able to fix issues that you have with other people, then you cannot fix your relationship with Hashem. Why is that? Because fixing a relationship includes that a person should have the power to break himself. It's not breaking, it's a humble koyach to confront and say, I did something wrong. I'm embarrassed. I did something wrong. I want to fix it. I'm going to try not to do it again. That to Hashem is the most easiest thing to do, because it doesn't cost you. So you say it, who cares? But who says that you mean it? So try it with somebody. If you can't get yourself to be meratzes chaveroi, if you can't get yourself to confront a person, a live person, and say, I shouldn't have done that, and I'm going to try not to do it again, and you're going to have to really prove yourself, because if you're doing it again in 5 minutes, you're making a fool out of yourself. Then it means, it's an indicator that you're not really using that tool of charota and tshuva. So that's why you need to be able to do that. And then when you're saying it to Hashem, it's also, you have it. You proved yourself. It's deep, but it's so true. It's so true. The Gemara says, and he brings the raya, in Masechtas Yuma, Reb Zera, someone did something, he chepped him very badly, he hurt him. And Reb Zera wanted to forgive him. So Reb Zera made sure to be around, that person should see him. It should be easy for that person to come and ask for forgiveness. Now, the Mefarshim have a hard time understanding. If Reb Zera had no problem and wanted to be moichel him, so what's the problem? So forgive him next. Why do you have to come and make sure that person asks for forgiveness? The answer is that Reb Zera knew that the big part of tshuva for that person is that he should come over. I can't do that for him. For my part, I'm not in a fight with him. I'm good. But Reb Zera wanted he should have a kapora. He should have tshuva. So you need to do that. And the Rambam, he brings in a sefer, Reb Gurovitz reads in a sefer that the Rambam, when he states in Hilchas Choyvel HaMazik, that means when a person hurts somebody else, what does he need to do? So if you pay up, if you made damage, if you pay up, then you're good to go. It doesn't say that you also have to ask for forgiveness. The same exact Rambam in Hilchas Tshuva says you have to pay up and you also ask for mechila, because that's tshuva. That's tshuva. We have to develop that feeling, and when you develop that feeling, then you have it, and then you could use it, and then it's real, and then you could use it for Hashem. You could use it all the time, and then you know that's like that shows you if it's true or not. Rabbi Victor Miller used to say that a person that ate a good meal that his mother prepared for him and doesn't say thank you and doesn't give a hoot and starts benching and he chuckles, he says his benching is nothing. Because if you don't really have that akaras hatoiv. Benching means like, Hashem, I'm like 55 years old and I'm still getting meals. I'm like embarrassed already. That's what benching is. He always, I have food. I'm Baruch Hashem doing fine. I thank you. But you don't mean it, and you're not dear, you're just saying the text. If you thank the person that made it, then you're showing you have to develop it. So I'm just going to finish off that the mission there is telling us something that we discussed, and it's in the English Yurim. It should be number 6. Back then in the English Yurim, a bit over 2 years ago, in the English Yurim. It's shir number 6. That when a person goes through Yisurim, right before shir number 7, when a person goes through Yisurim, they have the fixed thing, so we said, what should a person fix? So we said then, that a person should fix, first, they should fix Benadam HaChaveira. That's the number 1. Figure out if you have issues with people, and try to take care of that first. It's number 1. If a person sees that something is not working out with the abundance, that the Hashem showers onto the world, something is wrong. Look around, because it's like number 1 to look around. So, at that time, it's number 6 from 2 years ago, not now in the last couple of weeks. The idea is not only because there's a raya from here and a raya from there. It's also because if you are going to get yourself to do that, and again, a person could go baby steps. Hashem never expects from a person to do something they can't do. Then you're ironing out that, so you're also ironing out your relationship with Hashem, because you're learning how to do that. You're learning how to do that, and it's painful, but it's so healthy. We can feel the health, like when a person goes on a healthy diet, a diet as in just changing the types of foods. Maybe the first couple of times they stop putting sugar into the coffee, or the first couple of times they stop eating, they're still craving like crazy. But then they feel so healthy. They're not going around, they just feel healthy. They feel like they could jump around. That's what a person feels when they iron out these parts of a person's life. That's what a person needs. I know a person needs it as tools. If not, a person lives a painful life, because they get stuck and it hurts every time again. The person knows the skills, so Binanu Chaveri helps you have it to be able to have tshuva. And when a person has it, he's good with people, he's good with Hashem. And even more, if a person learns how to live such a type of life, even slowly, even if it takes you 10 years, and you got somewhere, you did the biggest favor for family members, for children, for whoever's around you, to teach them how to forgive, to teach them how not to hold a grudge, to teach them how to ask for somebody else for forgiveness, to come over and confront and say, I made a mistake. These tools got a person so far, and then a person trusts other people. They don't feel like everything is corrupt and nobody cares and people just mean themselves. You don't live in that world. Every person has the koyach to be able to just live in a beautiful world and see things with a different vision, and then they feel so much healthier, and then they start trusting in Hashem. So it's deep, but it's very, very important to learn. And even if a person only does a little bit of progress, it's felt right away. Even a tiny progress in this area, in this working on this, helps a person immediately. Okay.